it made me be like, you're shady, dude. Which also begs the question of where his moral compass
agree.
is, because if
Mhm.
he's not on the same page as her and thinking that these things need to take place, maybe pinpoint him more as an enemy.
I think they need blood for energy.
Maybe he has it donated and he can drink it, like, versus,
Maybe that's okay.
you know, like some Twilight stuff.
I was literally, you know what I was imagining whenever
What?
this was said in the book? I was imagining.
Please tell me it's the same thing I was imagining.
Cheshire Cat?
Yes.
Literally exactly what I was imagining.
Welcome back to BookTeaTalk, the book podcast where two sisters read a book together and chat about it each week over a cup of tea. I'm Kayla.
And I'm Maddie. Today we're diving into Brimstone by Callie Hart, chapters 11 through 16. And spoiler alert, a lot happened.
We will be including spoilers in the discussions we have today, but we do ask that you don't include anything past what we discuss in the comments of this video. But before we jump into the episode, I actually do have my tea today, and we need to go over what we're drinking. So Maddie, would you like to start us off?
Sure, of course, since I'm the one who always brings the tea and you don't.
One time.
Okay. Anyways, this is the vanilla macaron tea, and it's by Tazo in my cute little Starbucks mug. I'm sure y'all have seen this one 100 times. I always drink from this one.
100 times when we only have 9 episodes.
I know, literally. But like half of them is with this one.
Is the vanilla macaron, is that a new one? I don't think you've had that one before.
I've had it a while, but I don't think I've had it on the show.
Is it good? Is it sweet?
It's really good. It's not too sweet, but it's more of a sweeter flavor than you do with most teas. It's super, super
interesting.
Good.
All right. I am drinking, doesn't matter what mug at this point. You've seen all of mine. I got my warm hugs in a mug cup. Even though it's not Christmas, it's fine. We don't talk about it.
It's not Christmas or Halloween.
That's rude. I am wearing a Halloween shirt. It's fine. It's a comfortable shirt, okay? Yep. It's always the holidays. Anyways.
She's very festive today.
Just can't decide which one. Okay, so I'm drinking cinnamon bun tea. The flavor is cinnamon bun.
Good.
I got it from Walmart today. I mean, I could ship it to you if you want. We should exchange tea.
No, you know what would be so cool? Because you can easily put like little tea packets in an envelope, and all you need is a stamp.
Mm-hmm.
We could totally do that.
We could exchange some teas.
Oh my god, that'd be so cool to open.
But
for, like,
I don't
want to
get like the same tea that you already have, so we would need to coordinate that maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Or like send each other what we already have.
Right.
Okay. Cool. We'll circle back to that one day, maybe.
We will.
Okay.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah. By the way, don't forget to make sure you are subscribed to our channel so you don't miss future episodes. And now that we have our tea ready, and we have a lot to talk about, but let's just rewind for a second.
So last week we talked through the coronation buildup and how differently we pictured that whole scene playing out, and we had wildly different mental images of the setup.
We also started unpacking Kingfisher and the whole I don't know my true name situation that we are very suspicious about.
Extremely. We also ended on the bigger question of power, trust, and whether anyone is actually being fully honest right now.
Yeah, probably not. Nobody's being honest right now.
So if you did miss the last 2 episodes, pause this, go back and watch those, and then come join us, because today we're picking up right where that tension left off with chapter 11.
We open with Saeris saying goodbye to Fisher and Carrion as they go through the Quicksilver to Kalish. The plan is simple on paper. They will investigate whether Madra is behind the new feeders, acquire more silver, and rescue Hayden. Saeris will reopen the pool in 3 days. And reminder, Hayden is Saeris' brother.
Yes, and this plan already has me nervous because honestly, when has any plan that has a deadline ever gone smoothly in any book history?
Yeah, no, definitely not. Especially in this type of world book, never.
Yeah, exactly. We also see how fractured but functional the larger strategy of the group is. So Talana and Maynir, which is her bonded partner, are tending to the wounded from the war camp. Isabel, which is the witch, that helped in Quicksilver is asking the witch elders about sealing alchemical runes. Can't talk today. Renfus is warning various settlements about the rot that's spreading, and Danya is sending hunting parties out to keep the infected from spreading more inland.
Interesting. You say Danya. I say Danya.
Tomato, tomato.
Danya, Danya. Okay. But all the while, Lorith claims he stayed behind to train Saeris.
Emphasis on claims.
Claims. So, do we believe that was purely his choice, or did Fisher absolutely make him promise to protect her and to train her?
Oh, I'm fairly certain that Fisher ordered that,
You
or at
think
least
so?
heavily insinuated.
Oh, I'm sure, because he can't lie.
Exactly. So
Hmm.
technically, he probably did want to help her, but that doesn't mean it wasn't an orchestrated action.
For sure. It definitely was. Here's a question for you. Do you think Saris feels protected right now, or do you think she feels controlled? Because, obviously Lorith is following her around like a
N-
puppy.
Exactly. I don't know. I kind of feel like she's kind of an independent lady. I feel like she probably feels a little controlled, but not in like a controlling sense, but in like you don't think that I can stand up for myself sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that she's a little bit glad that at least somebody's with her, but yeah, kind of messed up for them not to tell her.
No, I
Yeah,
agree. And I do have a
yeah,
follow-up question. If you were
yeah.
her and in her shoes, would you want someone secretly assigned to guard you?
If it was from my mate, yes. No, I'm kidding, but for real, I would, especially in that situation, because we do figure out something that happens later on. She's not in her safest place. So
Yeah.
I would want at least somebody with me to help me, have to navigate all the scary vampires.
I mean, in my opinion, I'm not trying to die. Like, I will take any protection you give me, especially if it's from someone
Exactly.
I trust.
I
Because
agree.
in this city, she obviously can't trust everybody. So it's a big
Nobody.
plus up or step up to have someone looking at your
Hmm.
back. You know what I mean?
I agree. Definitely. Definitely agree.
So then we walk through the cogs. This is one of those scenes where the author is showing us horror and beauty at the same time because we have feeders who are collared, women who are tied to posts and being whipped while they're naked, I'm pretty sure. And then the children are crying crimson tears, and creatures are just sitting over there in the little alleyway, ripping apart rodents, and very gory, very graphic.
Yeah. And then there are jasmine scented flowers, beautiful stained glass, elegant high bloods, and window boxes decorating the buildings.
So it's grotesque and beautiful all at the same time.
Very interesting image that we got with that one.
Yes, I agree.
It almost makes it worse because that means that the cruelty is normalized. Because obviously they're doing that in broad daylight. Well, night light.
But it's
Because
probably
their
like a
because
normal
their
occurrence,
daylight
you
their
know?
daylight is night. Like their normal is night since they're vampires, right? You get
True. Yes, because they can't be out in the sun.
Exactly. And during their walk, Lorith finally tells Saeris the story of Gate and about Morel, which is Rimfris's twin sister that
Yes.
unfortunately passed away.
Yep. And Lorith decides to take Saris to a tavern that's filled with fae thralls, where children are laughing and eating while being fed from. Because if you'll remember, a fae thrall, I don't remember exactly how they become a thrall, but basically they're very submissive to whoever is feeding off of them.
I didn't think it was just children. I thought
No,
it
it's not.
was
It's
all
all
right.
of them, but I wanted to emphasize
The
the
children.
brutality of it because it does say
I
children
see.
and adults, but I just wanted to emphasize the brutality of what we're seeing.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of an interesting situation that's going on. So inside the tavern, we see that nobody recognizes Saris because she kind of has her hood up a little bit, and plus nobody knows her. Nobody knows what
Yeah,
she looks like on this side of town because none of
only the
them are like
high
high
bloods
bloods.
who were at the coronation have any idea what she's look like. It's not like she's
Exactly.
like out walking around.
Exactly. They do, however, recognize Lorith. He has a 600-year-old debt to the bar that they're going to. He gets in a bit of an argument with a high blood, and he casually rips off his hand and shoves it down their throat. What did you think about that? Isn't that insane?
Yeah, I mean, I was reading it and I was like, oh, okay,
I was like,
sure.
casual. Literally, so casual. Just
Yeah.
nobody around minded either. I mean, other than the
Right,
bar
they
owner,
didn't
but
react, but again,
nobody reacted.
it's a brutal environment, city that they
Yeah.
live in, so, I mean, I guess
Yeah.
that's maybe a casual occurrence. Um,
Interesting.
just, the normal fan vampire things that you see, and,
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I didn't mention it already, but we also know that vampires just can grow back their limbs. I mean, it takes a
Yeah.
while, but they can grow them back, so
That was
no harm, no
crazy when
foul.
I found that out. I was like, wait, what?
It's just some little starfish going
Interesting.
around here, I guess.
Yeah.
But
great.
Taladiaus surprises us because he emerges into the tavern.
Yeah. And we find out, plot twist, he actually owns the tavern. He dissolves the debt that Lorth acquired from the tavern from before he was the owner. But what's interesting is that they all have nicknames for each other.
And by all, we mean Taladiaus and Lorith, because they're not calling each other these little, like, specific names, Taladiaus and Lorith. No, 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 no. It's Tal and Lore, which is kind of interesting. It made me a little cringe, because all the while, Lorith is kind of obeying Taladiaus. Like, Taladiaus tells him to do something, and he's just like, oh, okay, cool, I'll do that. Which leads us to a big
Yeah.
question. Do you think Lorith could be Tal's thrall? Or is there a different kind of loyalty there that we don't know about yet?
No way. You think so?
Maybe. I found it
I
very weird that he was honestly very submissive of Taladiaus. Because if
I
so,
don't
like, I don't know, it's weird because whenever we found the new feeders, he was like, did you do this? So he's obviously doesn't feel super attached to Taladiaus, but in this scene, he's just like, aye, Captain, I'll do it. Like,
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it was just kind of because he helped him, and Tal has always helped him. You know what I mean? Like, he helped his friend that, died, unfortunately. Well, we thought he died, but he's alive. What's his name?
fully.
Fooley, yes. He helped his friend, and then obviously he helped Saeris. So, like, I think it's more of a friendship, less of like a thrall situation, but that is an interesting take. I was not thinking about that when I was reading it. Hmm, interesting.
I'd be curious to see what happens with that for sure. Taladius really was in the tavern because he wanted to speak with Saeris alone. The first question out of his mouth, though, was, where's Fisher? Because if Fisher is gone, she looks vulnerable, and that is not good from a political stance.
So here I got scared. I got so scared. I was like, no, what is about to I thought he was about to like hurt her.
Oh, really?
You didn't think that?
No, I was just like, what does he mean? I just thought that, like, I don't know what I thought. I got, like, a weird suspicion, but, like, I don't know if I could tell you, like, why.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting like what happened to happen, but I was like, oh no, like he knows that Bishop's gone. He's gonna like
Yeah.
do something to her while he's gone, and like she doesn't have the protection. I don't know. I was just really afraid, but
All the while, he's just concerned for her safety because he doesn't want other people to attack her, but
exactly.
it was a
Yeah.
little odd.
Very interesting. And the fact that he like took her by herself, I don't know. Weird, but
Yeah.
we do learn that there must be 5 Lords of Midnight at all times. Areth is now gone, and a vote must happen. The entire time, Saeris' runes are burning through her skin. This was crazy too. I was
Yeah.
like, what is going on?
Yeah, it was a very brutal imagery. We have
Mhm.
blackened skin. Her symbols are glowing. There's pain down to her bones. And the whole time she's lying to Taladius about, like, what is going on. She just is, like, trying to keep it hidden behind her. She's like, oh, nothing's fine. It's fine. Or nothing's wrong. Everything's fine, you know?
Yeah. I I don't know. I thought that whole thing was like super interesting. I don't know.
The whole
So
office scene?
the whole scene itself was just like, what is going on?
Yeah, I was kind of on the edge of my seat. I'm like,
Yeah.
Is something about to happen?
Exactly, yeah, I thought he was gonna hurt her, I didn't know. I thought maybe her, like, runes were glowing because, like, they were trying to protect her
Like, warn
because
her of danger?
kind of, like, that's exactly what I was imagining, I don't
And I
know.
have the weird theories.
I know. I mean, I feel like that's not that weird, right?
I didn't think about that, but
I don't know, but, so vampires can't lie to their makers, so this entire time where she's like, "It's fine, I'm okay, blah, blah, blah," he knows because a blue aura radiates from her as she's lying above her head that only the makers can see. So, my question is for you. Why do you think she's still trying to hide things? Do you think maybe pride, fear, or does she just like not trust Hal?
I kinda just think she doesn't really trust anyone that's not Fisher. But it could also just be, like, pride. She probably doesn't wanna seem vulnerable in any capacity, even to Taladiaus would be my guess. How about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know why she's I think she's like whenever she's in pain or something is bothering her, she doesn't want people to know. I think
Yeah,
she struggles with like being vulnerable. So she just wants to like pretend like everything's fine so she looks stronger to other people. That's
that
just
makes
my
sense.
opinion. Yeah. Also, Tal does predict that Saeris has elemental fire magic based on the way her runes smoldered, that she may additionally have regenerative magic based on the way that her hands healed as well. I have a question for you. Why do you think her runes were burning in the first place?
I'm not really sure, but if I had to guess, it has something to do with her not sealing her alchemical runes. Um,
Like the bond, her mating bond.
yeah, I guess something similar to that. Like, she accepted the mating bond, but maybe because she hasn't, like, accepted her I don't know if it's necessarily the case of accepting the alchemical runes, which makes them, you know, sealed, but
I
I'm
was about like
imagining that that's something that's
because of
what?
what Fisher's mom said. Like you need to
Yes.
seal the mating bond. Like
No,
she's accepted it,
she said you need to seal your alchemical runes.
but the runes have something to do with the bond.
No, she has alchemical runes signifying that she's an alchemist, and then she has a mating bond, but they happen to be, like, in the same place on her arm and hands, but they are 2 separate tattoo/marks.
I thought you didn't get tattoos unless you're mated though. At all.
She got alchemical runes.
Doesn't make sense to me.
I was thinking, at least in my head and my interpretation of the book, that the alchemical runes are separate from the mating bond and they have something like other stuff going on.
I don't think so. I think that they're like combined because in the way I interpreted the book, you only get tattoos if you have a mating bond because that's what other people try to get to like signify after they get married and stuff. But I think the runes that are on you determines how your life is and what's going on. So she does have runes for her like because she's an alchemist,
Mhm.
but she wouldn't have those if she wasn't mated in the first place.
Maybe, but
That's the
it
way
is
I don't know. I don't know if
I
I'm
mean,
right.
you
I
might
could
be
be
onto
wrong.
something, but Edina
Yeah.
did tell her to seal her alchemical runes, not to seal the mating bond, because she's already accepted the mating bond. There's nothing else left to do there. It was
Yeah. But
specifically for the alchemical runes.
yeah. I don't know.
So I'm
We'll see.
assuming because she hasn't done that, that's why they're burning or reacting
Yeah,
in some
I
way to
agree.
something.
I think they're burning because she hasn't done that. I think we both agree on that,
Yeah.
but the runes themselves is what we're like struggling to comprehend why.
Yeah. So if we missed anything, let us know in the comments down
Please
below.
do. Yes. Yes. So Saeris tells him everything about her encounter with Edina in the book that she was tasked with finding, but not telling him about. Tal then drops a bomb. The entity Saeris spoke to through Everlane, Edina, wasn't a shade. It was actually Fisher's mom, like truly her mom, which I already knew.
I did too. I didn't
Yeah,
think she was a shade, but I'm glad he threw that out there because in the beginning of either Brimstone or sometime in Quicksilver, they do mention shades
yeah,
specifically. So I think that's why they threw this in here. But you see, shades are echoes. So they're trapped memories a person leaves behind when they die, but the person's soul does move on. So it's just like a trapped
Yeah,
fragment of the person's soul. However, shades are not capable of holding a conversation like Edina did with Saeris, like a
exactly.
cognitive conversation.
Yeah, that's why I assumed it was her. Like,
Hmm.
they were having a conversation. It wasn't just like an echo. Yeah.
Yeah.
But because she isn't trapped due to giving a piece of her soul to anyone in the world, which would have tethered her there, she actually chose to stay by her own free will alone. And that decision would have been pure torture, which is crazy. I mean, obviously, she's doing it for her son, but
Yeah.
it's still crazy to do. Like, you're pretty much trapped in this, like, weird second world. And I guess you're just looking at everything that happens, but you can't interfere. That's how I interpret it. I don't
Yeah. She's
know.
probably also to she I imagine she's going through some psychological torment as well in some way. Just
Oh, you
that's how I'm
think?
interpreting the torture
Yeah.
being just something psychological. Maybe she's reliving like trauma that she can't get away from because she is trapped without being trapped or whatever, if that makes
I
sense.
I interpreted it as like it's just like a painful place to be in because obviously like your soul wants to leave. Like your soul
Mhm.
wants to
Move
release
on.
and move on, right? But I think she's like putting herself there and I'm sure that takes a lot of effort and pain
Yeah.
to do since that's not the natural like sequence of events after you die.
Yeah.
That's how I don't think she's, like, reliving anything, I just think it's a painful place to be.
Maybe. I mean, it doesn't say, but I do know in some stories, in some fantasy situations, souls who do are like who are in the in between where they can't
Yeah.
move on and they're trapped sometimes do like relive past
Oh, I see,
experiences
I
and can't
see.
that's where I was drawing on from is
Okay,
just like from other stories.
that
Doesn't
makes
say that,
sense.
but that's just what I was, typically
Yeah. A lot of, like, the Fae
going
books
out
are
there.
very similar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get that, definitely.
But it does feel like a significant choice in the story, so I wanna explore that. Why do you think that she would stay? I mean, you did kinda mention that maybe for Fisher, but do you think it's, like, protection? Do you think she regrets, like, something? She leaves something unfinished? And do you think it's tied to Saris's runes flaring?
So it's kind of hard to say exactly why. I don't think she could do any protecting, right? Like, she's kind of in that in between. I don't know if she can help out at all. And I wish we would've gotten some dialogue from Fisher about, like, his reaction because we just didn't hear at all, like,
That's
his
true.
thoughts on that. Even when we're in his chapters, like, he doesn't mention it at all, which I wish that we hear what's going on inside of his head.
He hasn't
Um,
really acknowledged it at all.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. I think they're doing that on purpose maybe to, like, try to hide something from us, and it'll be like a shocker at the end. I don't know, but I think the main reason why is she's following the story of her son. Like, I think she wants to, like, see what he's doing and, like, I guess not necessarily protection, but, like, watching over him in a way,
Mhm.
and maybe her sitting with Saeris and talking to Saeris, it was obviously very difficult for her to do, right? It's not an easy thing to, like, go in somebody else's body, but obviously it was for a reason,
Yeah.
like, a big reason, and we know, like, the rot, like, that is a huge thing, and I'm pretty sure that's what she was trying to fix, right? The rot. That's what the book was about.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
infection that's spreading over the land or
Exactly.
whatever.
So, she probably foresaw because she sees the future and stuff, she probably foresaw, like, not good things happening, and she felt like she needed to intervene. That's my opinion. How about you? What do you think?
Um, I thought I was gonna have a different answer until you started saying what you did at the end. I'll just reiterate, I think she's not necessarily watching over, but because she can see the future, I feel like she's, gonna be popping up here and there to guide along the moving pawns, the
Hmm.
characters into specific actions to prevent the rot or, like, fight against the rot. So
So she's
kinda
kind
the
of like
same
a spirit
answer.
guide, pretty
Kinda,
much.
yeah. That's kinda
She's
what I'm
kind of yeah, like a
imagining her
spirit
as, at
guide, but not
least.
necessarily, like, protecting them, but just, like, helping them along the path.
Right.
I like that answer. That's a good answer.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So you might have thought we got to the real reason of why Tal wanted to speak to Saeris in the tavern, but we didn't. Because the real reason he wanted to speak to her was to explain how she is only the second person or character he has ever sired.
Yeah.
So, and he does explain finally that their relationship is more like that of parent and offspring.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm glad that he explained this because if you'll remember in my predictions for what happens in Brimstone at the end of our Quicksilver recap, I said, "Ooh, we're gonna get a love triangle." You know, I had some of my terminology wrong, so I obviously don't think that's happening anymore. But however,
Thank God. Hallelujah. I didn't want that to happen.
so he explains that they're more of like a parent and offspring, and that he feels it's his duty to ensure that she understands how to be a member of the court and make sure she's equipped to survive the scenario that she has been thrust into.
Yeah. Super interesting situation. I don't know if I could imagine like how they feel because they can like feel each other's emotions and stuff. It's like
Yeah.
so weird.
Well, can he feel hers? I know
Yes.
she can feel his.
It's like parent child, like they
Okay.
can feel each because they're bonded, you know. I
Uh-huh.
can't imagine like those vampires that sired like multiple. Are you just feeling like a whole
Oh,
bunch of
true.
emotions?
That's
That's
true.
interesting. It's interesting
That'd
to
be
think
a
about.
whiplash of a thing going
Right?
on.
So Tal proposes to Saeris. He wants to publicly disavow her, which would sever their sire bond, and this would be a purely political decision to remove the appearance of her being his puppet and undermining her rule. He also doesn't want to hurt Fisher by having any sort of power over his mate, which I wasn't even thinking politically. I was like, I think this should happen because they can feel each other and it's weird. And I think they're wanting to do it for both reasons, but I
Yeah.
think he wants to do it mostly for like publicity reasons.
Yeah, because people keep saying that she's his puppet, and most of the theories I had going into this, section of the book have been hinging on the fact that Taladiaus is gonna use her in some form or
Yeah.
fashion. So again, my theories are devolving or dissolving because
Yep.
unless something else happens, we're now breaking the basis of my theories.
Yeah, exactly.
So Saeris does ask for a favor in return for doing this public disavowing. She asks him to cover for her when she's gone, basically to be the acting ruler of Amontreath. And I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
I did not like that because I feel like, sure, you may trust him, but you are giving him permission to rule in your stead. And then we find out later that she's just giving him permission to rule in general. And I'm like, you are putting way too much trust in this dude. Like, do you not
Okay.
feel that way?
No. Wait, that's so funny. Okay. Because
Wait, how
I
do you
was
feel
like,
about it?
in my opinion, this is like work for her. Like ruling a court is a job.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
She wants to focus on the rot. She wants to focus on figuring out the runes. Like she's busy.
I
This girl
know.
does not have time to run a court. But it's a vampire court. Like what could he do? You know what I mean? Like it's the vamp. Obviously,
He could undermine everything she's trying to do.
yes. And I think he mentions that he knows what she's trying to do. I believe in this chapter, right? Was
Actually,
it this
yeah,
chapter?
let's get back to that because
Okay.
we'll mention it later on, but that just proves my point that he could sit there and turn this against her. Maybe, circling back to my unhinged theories, maybe maybe he's publicly disavowing her to gain more of her trust, and then now that he's going to be in power to the throne and making decisions, he can literally just unchange everything that she's changing. I'm not saying that he's a bad guy and that he's going to do this, okay? But she is giving him the option by saying, "Will you rule in my stead?" Like, huh?
Yeah, but I think ruling in her stead is pretty much being there. Like that's literally what she's asking him to do. She's asking him to be there, not really make like crazy decisions.
Maybe.
But they
Maybe.
need
I'm
somebody
thinking
to
decision
rule over
making.
them. They need somebody to rule over them when she's gone. And she's planning on being gone a lot to try to help with the rot and stuff. Like she's got bigger fish to fry than these stupid little vampires that want to murder her. So
Maybe. I guess we'll see. Which, let me know in the comments because I'm dying to know without giving anything away in the rest of the book, of course. Who do you think's right?
I feel like everything that's going around with Taladiaus and Saeris, this is just like playing with fire almost inside a palace that's made of gasoline. Like it is going to explode one day, right? Like we're going to see some sort of like explosion, even if it's not your theory, it could be something else that happens because I don't believe your theory is right. But I feel like something's gonna happen. And the book is kind of just like inching us
Yeah,
to this. Anyways,
I can agree
so
with that.
Taladius explains to her that the disavowalment will require theatrics to be convincing to those in the court. Which, okay, I feel like Saeris cannot act, but whatever. I feel like it's gonna be an interesting scene. Like,
Mhm.
what happens? It's gonna be really, really odd.
I'm
Do you think
curious what they choose to do.
yeah, like, what are they gonna it's gonna be like a breakup situation? Like, what
You are
happening?
not my sire anymore. Like, what?
I disagree with your choices. I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna
I don't
do,
know either.
but the fact that it has to be theatrical and all that, like, they can't just tell people that it's broken, like,
No,
I
I
don't know.
could see how they need to make theatrics of it so that people know that it isn't a thing anymore. So that people can stop viewing her as a puppet, I'm assuming.
Why can't they just say, "I was tired of feeling his emotions," the end?
I wonder too if it has to be theatrical, I wonder if it's, like, frowned upon to break a sire bond.
Maybe.
It doesn't ever
Very
say that, but
possible.
it could
Well,
be.
I think it's mostly because the person wants to control the other person,
Mhm.
or like it's like a child parent relationship. Like they feel entitled to helping them grow,
Yeah.
you know?
No,
So
I agree.
it could be like a kind of taboo situation.
Maybe.
But do you think Saris is thinking strategically, or is she being extremely naive about court politics with all of
Well,
this?
I think based on what I was saying earlier, I think it's clear to see that I think she's being naive personally, but what about you? What do you think?
I think she's being smart by, like putting her eggs in the basket that will benefit her in the future. I mean, at this point, she's doing little things to try to help the big picture, but how
Mhm.
much can this vampire court really do? Right?
Yeah.
Like she needs to worry about the rot, she needs to worry about her runes, she needs to figure out if there's other alchemists that can teach her things. Like it's too much to manage all at once. So I think Saris is doing the right thing,
You
in my
think she's
personal opinion.
delegating?
She's delegating, yeah, she's being a queen, okay?
Okay.
She's doing great. I like
Okay. I guess clearly I wouldn't make a good queen.
that. You don't trust people, that's your
I
problem.
don't.
See?
Everyone
You see
has
that
bad
now?
intentions.
But meanwhile, all of this, Fisher and Carrion arrive in Zilvaren and immediately get shot at with iron-tipped arrows in Madra's Hall of Mirrors.
Just a casual welcome, no big deal. Fisher does conceal the room in darkness with his shadows and causes Madra's guardians to attack each other, which to me was hilarious.
Yeah, that was the whole scene was so funny. Like him arguing with Carrion. I
Yes,
love their little bond. Like it's
I do
so
too.
funny. Their
I do
bond is
too.
hilarious. And the fact that he's like, I want to kill him, but I can't because Saris.
Right,
So
right.
funny.
Like he low key detests him,
He hates
but
him
I think he's gonna get over it. I love
for
Carrion.
sure.
He's hilarious though.
Yeah,
He's stupid, but he's hilarious.
Carrion's the what is it of the book? The like the class clown kind of situation or the comedic relief. That's what it
There you go.
is.
Yeah, yeah. Comedic
He's the
relief.
comedic relief of the book and you need
He
him.
is.
Like he's hilarious. I like him.
I do too.
Um But they realize that, well, we learn that magic doesn't replenish as easy here because he's not from this realm, which is very interesting. So Fisher's not from Zilvaren, so he can't use a ton of magic at once, or else he will burn out. Is that what it? Or he just runs
No,
out?
he just runs out and then it takes a
Yeah,
long time to replenish to be able to use
right.
it again. So he's trying to
Hmm.
like in a way be conservative of it.
Yeah,
Just that way if they get into a sticky situation, he has something to use.
exactly. Yeah.
But Fisher does say that there must be some magic present Or else he wouldn't be able to access his magic at all, which just makes you wonder what kind of magic is lurking in Zilvaren.
Well, I mean, we know
We
some things
do
are
find out.
going on with like the weird vampire creatures. So we know that right
Yes.
now.
That's true.
So
It's
we
just
know
adding to the
something's
to-do list
happening.
or the list, yeah.
Exactly. Once they made it outside of the castle, Carrion starts leading Fisher to the best place that he knows to acquire silver. That is Brigand's Bank, which apparently Carrion owns, which was news to me.
It was news to everybody.
Yeah.
But Fisher's really upset because in his mind, the best place to acquire silver was going to be Madra's treasury. However, Carrion is like, no, I know best. She would never keep all the silver there. It's too easy to steal from. Blah 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 blah. Blah. But I have a personal store of it.
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, so that's why he's leading him there. But Carrion, he has magic. His bloodline, super powerful, one of the most powerful bloodlines in all of Yuvelia. And he's joint owner of the bank, so he does need two keys to open his vaults. And Fisher didn't know most of this information.
But he just doesn't know how to use his magic,
Yeah,
right?
he's
Okay, so
untrained.
he's
But
powerful, he
Fisher,
just
yeah,
has no idea. Yeah.
he's untrained, but Fisher notes how crafty he is as far as without training, he seems to have been able to teach himself how to do specific things.
Small things, yeah,
Yeah.
that makes sense. Carrion seems very satisfied with the amount of time that they have. Extremely satisfied, and he is taking all of the time. So they only have 3 days to complete their tasks, but Carrion decides that they need to visit one of his old places that he used to hang out, the bar or
Yeah,
tavern.
and what
Tavern bar.
better place than the tavern that Quicksilver
Yes.
opened with? The one where we met Hayden, where we met Carrion, where we met Saeris, all the things.
We learn that the second key holder for the vault is a man named Eric. Carrion assumes he would have enlisted a vault breaker to break into the vault since he has been missing for a long time.
It does make me wonder how long, like, Carrion's been gone, because it never really says, but also Hayden and Elroy haven't seen Saeris in X amount of time, like, we don't know. It just makes me wonder, you know?
I wonder if Carrion obviously saw Hayden before he left, like, because he knew that he was doing better. I
Mhm.
think that Elroy and Hayden obviously think that, Saeris is dead. Like, that's probably what they assume.
True.
So they were probably grieving this entire time, and it's gonna be like a big, crazy shock when he figures out that Saeris is alive.
I'm
I wonder
sure.
if we're gonna see Elroy at all in this book.
That's what I wanna know. We haven't mentioned him
I
since the
like
end of
Elroy.
Quicksilver,
I do
and it
like
just makes me
Elroy.
think, like, how long has this girl actually been gone? Has it been a month? Has it been
Yeah,
6 months? Like, it doesn't ever actually say.
and I low-key think Elroy might know a little bit about Alchemist.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
He
why
knew
are
that
we
she was
not
an alchemist.
focusing on
I
getting
know. I
Elroy?
think we're gonna focus on getting Hayden, and then we'll probably get Elroy after.
But, like,
Watch, we have to wait till book
3
3 to get
days.
Elroy.
Imagine.
Imagine, could
Probably.
you?
Probably. No, that would make me mad. I hope they do it this book. We'll see. But yeah. So to summarize, like, Eric is the one that has the second key, and Carrion thinks that he probably enlisted a vault breaker while he was gone because Eric had no clue where Carrion was this entire time. So yeah, that's what's going on right now. We kind of went off on a little bit of a tangent.
Which does bring us to the real reason Carrion brought Fisher to the tavern. It's
Yeah.
the place that he knows the vault breaker, because I guess there's only one good one in all of Zilvaren. He knows that he frequents the tavern after he's completed a job.
Exactly, and Fisher was not happy about being at this tavern. He thought
Mm-hmm.
he was wasting time. He was like, "We only have 3 days," but Carrion seems to think that they have all the time in the world.
Carrion's just chilling.
He is chilling. He's like, "I'm at home. I'm good." But sure enough, in walks Borath Shah, and
Okay.
he is the vault breaker. Was that not how you say it?
I said Vorith.
Borath?
It's okay. However you want to say it. Except he immediately bolts when he sees the pair. But Fisher does note that he only bolted after seeing him, not Carrion.
No, he ain't scared of Carrion, but it just kind of makes you wonder why. Like, why do you think he ran specifically from Fisher? Like, does he see through him, maybe?
I don't know, that's what made me think. I was like, this man knows what a fae looks like. He can see through a glamour.
Yeah, that's what I was
That's what I
thinking
thought.
as well. It's kind of interesting.
But back in Almontreath, we're going to do a little bit of back and forth here because that's how it takes us in the story.
Yeah.
The rot is spreading. Land and lives are lost daily, and Tal is leading Saeris through the halls of the Black Palace.
And immediately you feel the shift in the atmosphere through all of this.
Yes, because the High Bloods are watching the pair of them, but they're not watching Saeris, they're watching Taladiaus because she notes they are terrified of him.
They are shaking in their boots.
They are shaking in their boots if they are wearing boots.
Exactly. Because he can literally boil their blood. I mean, I would be shaking too.
No, for
But
real.
that's such a subtle but effective reminder of where their power actually sits in the court. He has so much power.
Again, why is Saeris trusting him to be on the seat?
Because he's a nice guy.
Bullet point in my favor, okay? Just saying.
Wait. I just
What?
thought about something.
What?
What if? Oh my gosh, wait. You just changed my mind. Because I was thinking, I wonder what happens if she dies because they're bonded. Maybe he's severing the bond. If she dies, he won't be affected.
Would he be affected if she dies? If they were bonded?
I don't know if he would feel the pain kind of situation. He would feel her
No.
emotions through it all. Maybe maker and mate can't kill. Not mate. Maker and child
Maid.
can't. He can't kill her if they're bonded because it would physically pain him, maybe. So maybe if they're severed, he could kill her.
I don't know that I'm buying into that one, but I like that you're beginning to circle back to my ideas. Okay?
It's just a theory.
Yeah.
I hope it's not true, but it's possible because why else would he randomly be let's not for Fisher? For Fisher.
Right.
I don't know.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah, okay.
Here we get back into another bullet point in my favor, though, okay? Because Saeris asks Taladiaus if the Blood Court should be worried about her.
Yeah, that was not only an interesting question to ask, but his answer was very carefully.
It was, he says, I know you hope to save the High Bloods. I know you want to instill in them some kind of moral compass, and that eventually you plan to eradicate the feeder horde after giving the court time to adjust.
Yeah. But just to point out that he also says, apart from those details, he tries not to bother himself with the politics of regents. He is a lowly lord of midnight, and it would be rude of him to second guess the motives of his esteemed queen, which is just crazy to say.
Yeah, he said it with absolutely no emotion at all.
Yeah.
And with a slight tone of sarcasm, which you could definitely feel in the passage. It made me be like, you're shady, dude.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. She's trying to change his entire court. So it kind of makes sense why he would have some objection to that. But at the end of the day, if they're not on the same page, this friendship is not going to work out. If he's going to be upset by the changes she's making, him being in power might not work out for her.
Which also begs the question of where his moral
compass
is, because if he's not on the same page as her and thinking that these things need to take place, that means he's more in line with the old way of how things are done, which is going to create problems between them and maybe pinpoint him more as an enemy, as in my theory. Just saying.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I feel like it's stacking up. And maybe it's like you
Yeah.
said previously that it's trying to make us think that way, but you can't deny
It's just
the
like multiple things. It's
plausibility
kind
of
of,
it.
yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know. Very interesting. But we then enter the. Wait, hold on. Let me go back a
Hmm.
second. Maybe my theory about killing Maker and Mate, or Maker and
Made.
Child.
Maker and Made. MADE.
Oh, is
Instead
that
of
what it? Okay,
mate.
Maker and Maid. Maybe my theory about that is correct because Malcolm made Taladius, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he knew that because she killed Malcolm, right? She would be the new queen. And maybe he's just playing the long game right now. He's building their trust. He's doing all this because he couldn't kill Malcolm himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he knew that. And I doubt Malcolm would let him sever the bond. So he is, in my opinion, this could be a theory. He might be playing the long game to
I've been
build
saying that
rapport,
since day one.
build relationship. Oh, I want to sever our bond for Fisher, not for me, for
For the good of your
Fisher.
image, girl, trust me. This is gonna make you look
Exactly.
like you're more in control.
But what if he's
But he's
actually severing
playing
it
her.
to try to kill her? Maybe because
Yeah.
if you're like Maker and Maid, I don't think you can kill each other, right?
I don't know, it doesn't say.
It doesn't say, but that's an interesting theory. You've got me kind of thinking your side now. You're starting to make a little bit of sense, which is rare, but you are.
Yeah. I do want to go back eventually, maybe towards the end of this book, and I would hate myself for for editing these. But I want to kind of go back and make clips of all of our weird theories and like do a video where we react to them with what actually happens. 'Cause I think that would be hilarious.
Oh, that would be good. Like if we
Yeah.
were watching the video of
Yes.
our
And then like
theories.
pause it at the end of someone saying something and then we go, what were we on?
That would be a good one. I like that idea. I do.
Okay.
Maybe is there a way for you to like keep clips, like certain clips and like name them like theory 1?
Yes. The only thing, I don't think I've deleted any videos from our recordings for this book, but that would be the only issue is if I accidentally did.
Okay. It's not that
So,
bad.
I mean, I'll see the plausibility of that later, but I
Sounds
do
good.
think that would be fun.
Cool.
Okay, let's keep going.
Then we enter the Black Palace Library, where paper birds can be seen flying around. They are folded to look like Stargazer, one of Evelia's rare bird breeds.
And the fun thing about these paper birds, other
Yeah.
than feeling magical while reading them, they lay eggs and raise their young and live in the library. They are literally living beings of paper birds.
Yeah.
And here in the library, we also run into Algit. Do you remember Algit?
Yay! I remember Algit. We had some strange theories about Miss Algit, and I think we were wrong about all of them.
I know, she's kind of honestly looking
I
more
kind of
like
like
an
her.
ally. I
Yeah, I
know.
kind of like her. So funny. This is the Lord of Midnight Saeris was told to be wary of, and the same one that made her drink from the living Fisher to accept her rule. And she was also the one that kind of gave her weird vibes and was making her think that she could be like reading her mind. So that was
Just keep that
interesting.
in your head there.
Yes.
She does say that she's been waiting for Saeris to come visit, which feels kind of ominous.
Yeah, kind of creepy, kind of
Yeah.
strange. So Algit dropped something big here in this meeting. So they're all in the library right now. Taladius brought Saeris to the library to meet with Algit. Algit drops a big bomb. Bellicon was forbidden by her father, which we believe is Malcolm. It's kind of what it insinuates is that her
Hmm.
father is Malcolm, from stepping foot into the library or like the library palace. It is a little unclear to what she specifically means.
Yes, because when I read this, I was confused. I'm like, was he never allowed in Amontrates at all? Was he not allowed in just the library? Like, I don't know. It just says he wasn't allowed here.
I thought maybe because like of his like obviously he wants to destroy a lot of stuff, right? And he wants to make him
Yeah.
the big ruler and no knowledge, whatever.
Yep.
I think that might have had something to do with it. Like
Yeah,
whoever
no,
made the
exactly.
library forbade Malcolm because he knew that he was going to just, delete it all.
Which makes sense because in the end of Quicksilver, they were kinda allied up, which is what was giving me the confusion,
Yeah.
but he sorry, which means when Bellicon ordered the books related to alchemists be destroyed, it didn't extend to those that were in the Black Palace library.
Just so odd. So odd. Very interesting. Yeah, Malcolm was apparently a patron of the alchemist. He supported them when others did not. He saw the power in them while the others were trying to, take them down because they saw danger.
Yep, and Algit does imply that there was a reason Bellicon and Madra hunted the other alchemists down.
Yeah.
Okay,
However, Tal interrupts her before she could finish explaining what she meant. So,
which made
obviously,
me mad.
yeah, that's so annoying. I
I
hate when
wanted to
books do
know.
that. Yeah.
I wanted to know the information.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, same. And
But it
she
does
sounds like
have
she's an older lady, like, that knows
yeah.
everything.
No,
So,
exactly.
yeah. Mm.
It did have me asking many questions, though. So, do you think the alchemists knew something dangerous? Do you think they created something dangerous? Maybe back to those brimstone rings we were theorizing about. Or do you think they were just an inconvenience to those who were in power?
I think they were extremely powerful, and they were scared of that power, which is why they
Hmm.
tried to, like, kill them all off. Because I feel like they would be easy to overthrow whoever is in power. So I think
Yeah.
that's mainly why that's my theory. I mean, I don't know. What about you?
Kind of the same. I definitely feel like they have the ability to kind of create anything that they want, and that
Yeah.
thing has loads of potential of power and abilities that we couldn't even begin to brainstorm, honestly. So I feel like they felt threatened by them for
Yeah.
sure. And they probably saw it as a source of control as well. Like if they had one specific alchemist for their kingdom, then they could control what they were producing and have it like aid their efforts and their goals and what they wanted versus them going out on their own and like liberating the people.
Yeah, and in some way, like, alchemy is connected to the gods, right? Like,
Mhm.
the
I think so.
Quicksilver literally brought her to see the god of chaos.
Mhm.
Like,
It's true.
there obviously some sort of connection, so that just screams like power, right? So that's
Mhm.
probably what they're afraid of because she can talk to Quicksilver and nobody else can. So,
Mhm.
very interesting about that. But hmm. um Algit while they're in the library. So she says the price is Algit a boy or a girl? I think it's a girl,
It's a
right?
girl.
Okay, cool. Because
She's
I was
a
picturing her as like an old
female.
lady. Okay,
Yeah. Old
interesting.
cat lady.
It just Algit like gives mail, so I
Does
was double
it?
checking. I don't know. Algit sounds like a man name. No.
Maybe. It just sounds like a forgotten language.
Yeah, true, true. But Algit says that the price for her help in the library is blood, which is very customary in the vampire court. Everything you want, everything you ask for, you gotta pay in blood every time.
Yep. And if that isn't odd enough, Saeris mixes 5 drops of her blood into a
Yeah.
saucer of milk. But it's not for who you might think that it is. No, no, no. The blood mixture is actually for the library's cat, Guru.
I bet you loved this part because you're a cat lady. Did you love it?
I do like me some cats, and I was liking the cat. Do with that information what you will.
Yeah, I thought Algit was gonna drink the blood, but I just thought it was
I
so
did
funny when she
too.
gave it to the cat. I was like, okay, this girl is truly a cat lady if she's giving the precious blood to the cat.
Right, right.
So funny. But do you think it's like a vampire cat mix? Like, what do you think?
I mean,
Obviously,
it
it has
likes
to be.
blood,
True.
so
And milk.
maybe
I don't
that
know.
or it's just weird.
But it was 5 drops of blood all to get a single book. One single book. And Saris has some choice thoughts for this.
But as we already have had our suspicions, Algit reads her thoughts and she calls her very rude. Like, she's like, that was very rude of you. And Saris is like, what? I didn't say that out loud. So Saeris immediately commands her to never invade her mind and read her thoughts again. Not hers, not her friends, not her mates. Period. Point blank.
And Algit was very upset about this.
Yes,
She
she was
was like,
like,
"You
ugh,
want me to help you?
no,
And
for
then
real.
you're forbidding me from reading your thoughts?"
She's like,
Like,
you
it's
never know when that might come in handy, Miss Ma'am.
and she's like, "When could that ever come in handy?"
No, right. I bet it will, though. And now that she
Yeah,
said that, I bet it will.
exactly.
Because
But
I think she's secretly an ally.
yeah, I like her a lot. I think she's cool. So I definitely think she's gonna turn into an ally at some point. But she's acting like this now, like an old little grouchy witch, which I think is just her character.
I
But
do
I think
too.
she's gonna be a friend. And she even said, like, I normally give a couple drops of blood a couple pages. And you're lucky
No,
you can
really.
actually read it in your language. I'm giving you a whole book.
Exactly.
I'm being nice to you.
No, literally. To
So funny.
speaking on the same point that you just said, she said normally she would give a couple of pages for a drop or two of blood, and it's normally in put a pin in this Alchemiran or something like that.
Yeah.
And then she makes a brief point to say, I bet you can't even read your native language, is insinuating that this is
Yeah.
Saeris's native language.
No, I don't think it was insinuating that it was Saeris' native language. I think
She literally says that.
it's the alchemist's native language. So it's not her, but it's
Oh.
just alchemy in
That
general.
makes so much more sense because I'm like, does it mean that it's no? Because in my head, I thought because I think when Saris first goes to the Fey realm in
Yeah.
Quicksilver, she asks Everlane why she can understand her because she was confused on why that they had the same language, and Everlane says that people in Zilvaren still use the Fey language instead of a different language. So in my head, I was thinking that Alchemiran or whatever was the Zilvaren native tongue, but it just wasn't used. But it makes
No.
sense that it would be the alchemist language.
Yeah, like the alchemists have their own
I'm
language.
glad you
Like
said
that's
that.
their
I
bloodline
wasn't
kind
even
of
on my
thing.
radar, and that makes so much more sense.
It was like Alchemarin. Like, what do you mean it wasn't on your
I
radar? Like,
don't
it's
know.
literally in the
I
name.
was confused.
That's funny.
Anyways,
But after all this, her runes begin to burn again, which at this point doesn't surprise
go
me.
figure.
Literally. And Algit quickly rushes off to find the book that her blood paid for. I don't think Algit's aware that her runes are burning. But at the same time, Saris is off in La La Land staring up at the painting ceiling of the library.
Yep,
The
she's just like,
painted ceiling of the library.
she's like, oh, it's so beautiful,
So gorgeous.
When
How
out of
nice.
nowhere, okay, a male attacks her. And after a wrestling match ensues, Saris finally is able to stab him just under the ribs.
Yeah. The male then says that he didn't know that blade she had was silver. And when she replies, it's silver tipped and it won't actually kill him.
It'll just injure him just enough to contain him for questioning. And then her runes ignite.
A shockwave goes through her arm and then out of her hand in the form of a white-blue shockwave. The desk disappears, the bookcase disappears, the couch disappears, and the portrait of Malcolm disappears.
Which, good. I'm glad the portrait of Malcolm disappeared. But anyways, she literally, okay, put a hole in the wall in the library.
Yeah, this happened out of nowhere. I literally was like, what? I had to
Yeah,
reread it. I was like,
it
what's going on?
literally ends with saying, I put a hole in Amontreath. And I'm like, what do you mean? Is there just
Yeah,
black hole on the floor?
I thought, I was like imagining like she opened like a
Like a
pool of
portal.
quicksilver. Yeah, like a
Yeah.
portal. That's what I was like
Yeah.
thinking.
That's kind of what I was picturing too until a few chapters later. It was like,
But
or then like the
it's
next
just like a
chapter was
hole.
like, it's just a hole in the library. Like,
Yeah.
I'm imagining like many, the library is very high up in the palace. So it's like 20 feet up, 20 stories up in the air, like just a hole in the wall.
Yeah.
But
So
that's not what it made it sound like at first.
it didn't. Well, they did mention like the stairs was a lot, but I thought
Mhm.
the actual like thing was like a portal.
Yeah. No, I did too.
So question for you. At this point, what are you thinking? Who do you think the guy is? What do you think is happening?
I don't know. It just kept mentioning that he had like gold-tipped teeth, and I was here for that.
Okay.
It just made him
Interesting.
seem bougie. I don't know. I was
Bougie.
living for it. I just
Okay.
imagine this little BA dude with some gold-tipped fangs. I don't know.
Okay.
It was, I don't know. The whole time he was I was like, "Ooh, what's happening? Someone's like trying to attack her." But I don't know. Other than that, I
I
didn't
was
know
like
anything.
I was like worried about her safety, but okay, that's nice. Gold tip fangs. Cool.
Go get
Okay.
him.
Yeah, like okay. I
Dude, you're making
assumed
me
it was like
cry.
I assumed it was one of like the, the little vampire guys that's just trying to kill her, but I was confused like how was he able to like go after her
See,
and kill
what's
her?
crazy? I wasn't even thinking about how he was doing this. I was just like, "What's going on?"
I
I
kind
didn't
of
even
like
consider the rules though.
and now thinking about it, it's like, I don't know, did Talladega like was he walking like watching Talladega leave and like he saw that she was by herself and you know what I mean? Very
It's true.
interesting.
And how did he even get there? I mean, we'll come back to these questions once we
Yeah,
figure out who he is.
who he is, but
But
still interesting.
let's continue for now.
But like I want to know why he attacked her in the first place. We never learned that.
And the library of all places, too.
Like why did he attack her? We
I
have
mean, I'm
no
sure
clue.
we'll find out.
Later on, maybe,
We
yeah.
kind of ended our chapters section with his reveal, which we'll get to. But I'm imagining maybe in next episode we'll find out more of why.
Yeah, okay. We'll see.
I mean, we
But
kind of figure out why, but
no, we know who it is, but we don't know why he did it in the like we know why he continued to do it after he saw something, but we don't know why he did it
true.
in the first place.
This is true. This is true. But we'll get back to that.
We'll come back. But cut back to Zilvaren and Fisher and Carrion finally catch up to Vorak, aka Shah. Shah. What do
Shah.
you call him, Shah?
Shah. I just
Okay.
you enunciated it, and it was just kind of funny.
Which, if
Shah.
you don't know, if you forgot, Shah is actually the vault breaker, so he is assisting them with breaking into the vault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, they caught up to him, which happened a lot quicker than I was expecting it to happen. It was literally like the next paragraph. They caught up to him.
Yeah.
And so they find him, and he claims he doesn't know where Eric took the silver, because why is he gonna, tattle on himself? He's just gonna
Yeah.
cause some issues. So that's what he says.
So everything starts to feel just like off. Vorath
Mhm.
has some strange energy about him. He's either really intrigued by Fisher or afraid of him. But the weird part is he shouldn't be because he's glamored. Like,
He's
what?
glamored, and yeah, Fisher and Carrion are both glamored,
Yeah.
and Fisher isn't presenting himself as aggressive or a threat
Mhm.
in the moment,
Yeah.
but Boreth keeps like side-eyeing him.
Yeah. It's like he knows something
Mhm.
that he shouldn't, kind of thing.
Mhm.
Very interesting.
Very interesting
But
indeed.
eventually, Vorath says he can't tell them where the silver is, but he can lead them there. And Fisher kind of felt like an odd feeling about this, but kind of just like let it pass. But as they make their way through the ward, this is Fisher's first real look at the third ward where Saeris comes from.
And one thing he notes is that while there are terrible hardships everywhere, the citizens are not broken. They aren't defeated and haven't given up on living, which is kind of interesting because we saw both sides to the Cogs
Yeah.
in Amontreath, and now we're seeing both sides to the Third Ward and Zilvaren. It's a little bit of a crossover, I guess.
Yeah, I think he's finally realizing like, wow, she like lived through this misery
Right.
and she
Like
still
she
has
had it
the
bad.
attitude that she does, Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Which is crazy. But Shaw leads them to where he helped Eric hide the silver. It's beneath the bell tower. And Eric never told anyone how he found the empty rooms there.
Which is suspicious. Like,
Extremely.
keeping things to himself for sure.
Yeah.
But inside the passageway, there are small glowing vials lighting the way that Fisher says oddly look like liquefied, concentrated Evan light.
But even light connects it back to Evalia and Amontreath, as even light is the light source that they use there.
And that's when they find a corpse laying on the steps. And this corpse
Dead.
has fey canines, not human canines, Fey canines.
A little Fei dead, which is very odd. But at the top of the stairs, Fisher stops Carrion. He isn't feeling good about the situation. Finally, he's listening to his gut instinct. He does not feel good about it. He's like, Carrion, stop. Carrion does not care.
Carrion does not care, but Fisher tells him, he's like, if you walk through that doorway, you're not leaving alive.
And that's when Carrion kind of like, maybe.
He's like, I'm still going through the door.
Literally a box of rocks for a brain, like nothing. But that's when Shaw grabs Carrion and pulls him forward and says, sorry, Carrion, you're my friend, but he's still hungry. Like, what? I was shocked. I was like, who is he? I was like, who?
So Carrion falls into the room and he can't get up because his hands are stuck to the floor. So basically it's a giant rat trap.
Yeah, Fisher immediately recognizes it as a demon's trap is what it's called.
Yes. So runes are everywhere. They're on the ground, they're on the ceiling, they're on the walls, they're probably on the rafters. There are thousands of them. It probably looks like a psychotic ward.
And I believe that's why they couldn't see them because of the light, right? Or
see what?
The runes.
Yeah, no, as soon as the light went out or the door shut was when they were able to see the runes.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought, but I just want to like double check before I said that. But to add to that, Carrion hears this rushing sound and it keeps getting louder and louder and louder.
Yeah, and we're at this point, I don't think anyone else was hearing it. No one else said anything about it. It was just Carrion. And then Fisher explains that a demon's trap is old magic. It is Alchemiran magic.
Alchemiran,
whatever. Alchemiran.
Doesn't even sound like alchemy.
Oh, well, that's why I didn't know that it was.
That's why you had no clue. Okay, that makes sense now. Which, by the way, back in the library with Algit, we learned that Alchemiran is Saeris' native language, which just cannot be accidental at this point, because obviously the alchemist can do things that regular Fae can't.
Like maybe creating demon traps.
That could be it.
But yeah, this trap was designed to catch demons, but the magic deteriorates. Over time and can be manipulated into other things.
Yeah. Meaning that the demon that was imprisoned there is now using the trap like a spider's web for feeding.
Yes. Very intense scene. Yeah, so that's when Shaw finally fills us in. The demon that belongs to this trap, it's his master.
Yeah. His name is Joshin, Lord of the Desert, King of the Dark Dream.
And this is where the tone shifts from tense to horrifying. And Fisher, he just reacts. Somehow, some way, he summons a replica of Nimarel with like what little magic he probably has available to him. It's like a shadow Nimarel, which I was like, what? That's so cool.
Yeah.
Didn't know you could do that.
I was like, what?
Like, does it have the same like abilities as regular Nimarel, or is it just a sword? I don't know.
I guess we'll
And how does that work?
Yeah, very crazy. And he also mentioned that he could easily turn around and leave Carrion, but he said that if he leaves him, he will obviously be dead, and Saeris is not gonna like that, so he's gotta stay, fight for him. But he tells Carrion that the rushing sound that they're hearing is not wind, it's scorpions, and they are everywhere.
Do you think that the demon that's trapped there is like some sort of like master scorpion? And like these are its little minions? Or do you think it's something else and these are just its little minions?
That would make sense because he mentioned like the old demon that he was trapped with. Because he was getting like flashbacks, I guess.
Which was the big blob of something in the middle of the labyrinth. Yeah.
So it would make sense that it's like some type of like large, weird animal looking thing. Yeah, that's possible. Interesting. That's a good thought. Ooh, a big giant scorpion? Imagine.
I would not want to fight that.
Imagine, like, killing it, like, the pinchers, the tail. Nope.
Yeah, just slice it all off. No big deal.
God, okay.
As if the whiplash isn't bad enough for you, we are back in Amontreath after the explosion in the library, and things are not calm. Alget is beyond furious with Saeris, okay?
Yeah, so the library cat, our favorite guru, the one who drank the bloody milk, he's escaped. She implied that the hole in the wall that Saris created is what allowed this to happen. Mind you, the cat can appear and disappear into thin air. I was literally, you know what I was imagining whenever
What?
this was said in the book? I was
Please tell me it's
imagining
the same thing I was imagining.
Cheshire Cat.
Yes.
Literally exactly what I was imagining.
Yes, me too.
That's so
Like, the
funny.
whole thing. Like, I was literally just picturing him from Alice in the Wonderland.
Yeah, me too.
Like, just disappearing and reappearing into thin air and being
That's
sketchy.
so funny. Yep. That's hilarious.
But basically meaning that the cat could probably leave and come back whenever it wanted, and it probably has before, meaning it could just leave, and Saris isn't really the reason that it escaped.
Yeah,
It
like
just took
the
advantage
whole
of an opportunity.
exactly, like the whole is like pointless because if it can disappear and reappear, like
Right. Unless it is magically bound within the walls of the library, it can leave.
which it might be. We don't know.
It might be.
It could be. But Saris's attacker is now chained to a chair. However, Saris's skin is not healing as quickly as it has in the past due to her rune flares, which was almost instantly before, and now it's just like burning her up.
Mhm. I'm assuming it's just gonna get worse and worse as time goes on, like, until she seals them, if that is what it is.
Exactly.
Is that what you're kinda thinking it is?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely for sure. That's kind of my idea, but I don't know. Miss Girl needs something.
Yeah.
Fisher needs to
She
come
has
back and help her.
It's just like, meanwhile, she has no leads on what she's supposed to do,
Yeah, no clue.
but she's about to probably get one. So Algid is immediately disappointed that Saris didn't just kill the male that attacked her instead of being questioned. She wanted him to be just dead. Like, he shouldn't have attacked her. Just kill him, be done with it, be over. She sees it as a sign of weakness that Saris wanted to
Yep.
question him to find out, like, who sent him, why is he doing this, etc., etc. And she's like, nah, you should have just killed him, like, honestly. But instead of being questioned, the male has questions of his own for Saris.
Yeah. So he wants to know what Saris did to Kingfisher. He just outright accuses her of killing him, all because he recognized the dagger that she stabbed him with. He knows it belongs to Fisher and refuses to believe that he would ever give it up without a fight. Which is so
And
confusing. Like, obviously he was attacking her harder because he saw the dagger, but like, why did he attack her in the first place? I don't get it.
we can finish talking about that in the end of
Okay.
this next section.
Okay.
But after explaining her mating bond to the male and revealing her runes, which she didn't have to do,
Exactly.
Algit is furious. Again, it's a theme. She calls the marks that are on Saris sacrilege and says that it's wrong to ink skin up like that. And I thought that was very interesting. I didn't think that she would. I'm assuming maybe because her bond comes from the Fae gods and it's a Fae mating bond. So maybe she's saying it's sacrilege because it's not from a vampire god. But I don't know. She doesn't say
No.
that. She just says the marking is wrong.
No, I think that she thinks they're fake. That's
Mm,
my opinion. Like, because you know how the
okay.
other
Because they
girl had the
chose to mark them
tattoos.
on.
Exactly.
That's a
I
good
think she
point.
was like, oh, well, you marked yourself up and you're not even like actually mated. Like, that's a nobody's mated kind of thing. You know?
That's
And
a good
she
point.
didn't
Yeah,
go straight to being mated. She went to like, oh, like you're just marking up your skin because you want to pretend like you were mated.
I
So
see.
yeah, that's what I took from it. I don't know. Maybe it could be like a Fae vampire mixed thing situation.
No, yours makes more sense, I think, because she didn't bring up gods in any way.
Yeah.
So yours makes more sense in that sense. I do have another question for you. In this moment, we still don't know who this male is. How
I
are you
thought
feeling
Saris
about
was
him?
weak. I agreed with Algay. I was like, kill him.
Really? See, that's
Yeah.
crazy. I definitely thought she was strong for getting the questions, the answers, because if she doesn't ask the questions, she doesn't get the answers, who's to say someone else isn't going to come attack her?
It felt like, in my opinion, that she kind of just, like, made that up on the spot. Like, it felt like she really wasn't thinking about the whole questioning thing, but she
Which
didn't
is
want to kill
crazy.
him.
That's crazy because you're saying that she's not, like, she's trying to fake being strategic when she really is just being strategic and wanting the answers.
No, that's what it felt like because she said that it would have been, I think she mentioned it or something, that it would have been difficult to, like, kill.
Maybe. But
Yeah.
I thought she just wanted the answers. I wasn't thinking too much more into it. But
I
did you
I
know
thought
who the
she was
guy
just, like,
was
struggling.
at this
No,
point?
no clue.
You just thought he was I
Yeah, I
just
was
thought
like,
he was some
murder
baddie with
him.
some gold-tipped fangs.
Baddie is crazy, but yeah, I literally was like, murder him. Like, he just tried to kill you. Like, you're showing weakness right now. Like, kill him.
Yeah.
Apparently, she kept him alive for a good reason. Saeris then asked the male how he was able to break the edict. If you remember, he wasn't supposed to be able to harm her or her friends because of the declaration she made in the beginning of the book saying, nobody in this court can hurt me, my friends, my mate, nada. Not even my fox. I don't think she mentioned the fox, but
She
she
probably
probably
meant it,
meant
though.
it. Yeah.
So that is when our lovely friend Lorith decides to walk into the room, and this changes the entire perspective of the scene. Okay, guys?
How
I don't think you're ready for
convenient,
this.
first of all.
No,
How
really.
convenient. He just knew
How did
where
he
she
just know
was,
to
saw
come
the
into the
blast
room?
from the ceiling. Oh, I gotta walk up these 100 million
Oh,
flights of stairs.
just really quickly.
Like, what? How
Yeah, that's a fair
convenient.
point.
Lord says the male wasn't bound by the edict because he never swore fealty to it.
A wolf never becomes a leech.
And right away, it becomes clear who this is. This is Fooley, the missing brother that Fisher and Lupaprolia have been searching for since the Aegean Gate. And just to remind everybody, Lupaprolia was a little gang of family members, friends, besties that would fight together. And the Aegean Gate is when they fought the big dragon at the, not at the end of Quicksilver, but like the bonus chapters in Quicksilver.
Yep.
And
Nom
it's what
Shakrai.
Lorith, yes, and it's what Lorith sang the little song about to the Quicksilver that he doesn't remember.
Yes. And Foley's grandfather was the last alchemist that they're aware of.
Yes,
So we're hoping that maybe Saeris will start making some progress because we're almost halfway through with this book.
Yes.
Maybe?
No.
Somewhere around in there.
We're close to half.
We're getting close to the halfway point. So she's got to start making some progress. Like, we can't just have nothing happen.
Agreed.
But what did you think about the reveal of it being Fooley? Because I was like,
okay.
What?
Yeah, I was shocked, but I was like, oh, okay, good thing she didn't kill him.
Yeah.
That was like my whole thought. So I was like, okay,
I still want to know why he has gold-tipped fangs.
Oh, they mentioned he was like a werewolf, right? Or something like that? Did they not?
Where did you get that he was a werewolf? We have not once mentioned werewolves in this book.
It's because a wolf never becomes a leech. They
viewed their brotherhood as wolves, and leeches are vampires.
I thought because he had different teeth, he turned into a werewolf.
Bruh, what? They have not mentioned werewolves at all in this book, and all of a sudden you're like, werewolf. That's it.
Look, that's just where my mind went. If it's incorrect, it's incorrect. That's just exactly.
It's very incorrect.
Okay, well, no attacking here. That's just what I thought. Whatever.
That is insane, dude.
Another crazy theory that obviously I got disproven right now.
Right away.
Yep.
Anyways, I do want to know what's up with the gold-tipped fangs. Like, is it just like a jewelry, like, cosmetic thing at this point?
I think he's like a lone wolf. And, obviously he's not a part of the clan, like the vampire clan. He doesn't follow them. He doesn't agree with what they do. So maybe he's kind of went off on his own and, developed his own kind of vibes and situations. Maybe he got rich.
I have a theory.
Oh, good God. Oh. Are we thinking?
Probably not. My theory is he says a wolf never becomes a leech. So did he dip his fangs in gold to prevent him from being able to be like a vampire, like from from being like maybe it prevents him from piercing skin or drinking blood.
That's a better theory than what I was gonna
What were you gonna say?
The gold is brimstone.
Maddie, Brimstone is hang on. You do know Nom Shakrai in the Kingfisher POV chapters, his
Yep.
fire was molten and brimstone.
Maybe it protects him from biting people and sucking their blood.
Okay. I like my theory though. That
Wait,
actually
but how
kind of
can
makes
he
sense.
bite? Like, how would he survive then? They need blood.
I think it's said that I don't know.
I think they need blood for
Maybe
energy.
he has it donated and he can drink it like versus
Maybe that's okay.
you know, like some
Okay.
Twilight stuff.
Some Twilight. Okay, or maybe he eats animals, like some Twilight stuff
Mhm.
kind of thing. Okay.
I don't know. Or maybe it's literally just a fashion piece and we're thinking way too hard into it.
Yeah, I think we're really extra with our theories sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
Sometimes.
So, as we get ready to wrap up the episode, Saeris is trying to hold authority in a court that doesn't fully trust her. Her magic
Yeah.
is shifting. There may be a cost showing up where there wasn't before, and the old systems of power are pushing back.
Yep. At the same time, Fisher is facing a completely different kind of threat: the Demon's Trap, the Alchemists magic, Joshin. It just all connects back to something older than either of them.
What stood out to me most is that power in this world never comes clean. It
Yeah.
is always asking for something in return.
Exactly. Blood, loyalty, truth, control. And now, with Fooley revealed, this isn't just political or magical anymore, it's personal.
And it makes whatever that's coming next feel bigger, not just dangerous, but emotional as well. And as a reminder, we are not even at the halfway point just yet.
Yeah, so much going on, literally. But we are definitely at the point in the story where everything feels like it's on a tipping point, and we are just very ready to see what happens next.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm so excited.
Yeah, same.
But thanks for hanging out with us here on Book Tea Talk. Don't forget to join us next week as we dive into chapters 17 through 20. Until then, make sure you are following us at Book Tea Talk across all platforms for updates, bonus clips, and more. And we hope you have a wonderful week. Bye, guys.
Bye. Bring your tea.
Bring your tea.